Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Work at Home Rockstar Podcast. We are talking to the CEO of Golden Apple Agency, and what she does is she helps business owners simplify their finances, turning complex accounting into a tool for better decision making and growth. So I'm very excited to be rocking out today with Tanya Akimenko. Hey, Tanya, you ready to rock?
I am. Thanks for having me.
So tell me a story of success that we can be inspired by.
Oh, honestly, I have so many, but I'll probably just start with my own. My business started in my home office, and now I have two office locations, 15 employees, but majority of the time I still work from home.
And so when you first started your business, was it a part-time thing or did you start it full-time from home?
Yeah, it was a very part-time thing. It was just during the tax season, so I do taxes and accounting. So it was just taxes. I think the first year I probably had maybe 10 customers that came to my house. I did have a home office that they came to, but yeah, it was just a part-time. I had a full-time job, and it all started just very few hours, a year.
So what was the catalyst to transitioning from the part-time to the full-time?
I just took a leap of faith. I was like, you know what? I need to be adding bookkeeping as my client base kind of grew. I had a couple of people asking me for bookkeeping services. And I was like, I need to just take a leap of faith and jump all in instead of trying to do this part-time.
Yeah. And
And it worked out amazingly.
so now, but on the other side of it, there are some things that don't go as planned, and there are some mistakes that we might make along the journey. Can you share something like a big mistake that you made that we can recover from and learn from?
Yeah, I would say one of the mistakes I made is I tried to expand too fast. I hired too many employees and didn't have a chance to train them very well. I had to cut back. Unfortunately, I had to let some people go. It was very devastating. Took out some loans to cover the initial payroll because I thought I was going to grow so fast. And then it took a couple years to recover, and part of it is still recovering,
Oh,
but it's all good. It was very expensive, but very good mistakes to learn.
so why did you think so just to kind of like get into the mindset a little bit so that people don't make the same mistake,
Yeah.
what made you think that you could expand quicker than you could?
Yeah, so basically, I had the client base, like I had enough prospects and leads that were coming in that wanted our services, but I didn't have enough people to work, people to perform the jobs and things like that. The mistake is assuming people are like you. People have the same desire to learn like you. People are, like get it done. I'll meet the deadline like you, but no. So hiring the wrong people even though they interviewed all great, like there was a lot of people that I didn't hire, people that I
Mhm.
chose to hire. But, then I had people who you couldn't make them even do some bookkeeping, They just were not into it, even though they interviewed and things like that. So I unfortunately even had to let some of my customers go because I just didn't have enough personnel
People
applying
don't
in
like numbers, eh?
accounting. I think it's the whole compliance part. Yeah, accounting, you think it's all about numbers, but it's not. It's literally all about compliance. It's filling out a bunch of forms. God forbid you miss a checkbox in one box, or put an extra one somewhere, then yeah. So it's all about, I would say more about compliance than numbers really, or even
Okay.
with bookkeeping, categorizing it correctly, you know.
So a lot of the mistake wasn't necessarily that you hired too many people. It might have been that you hired the wrong people or you weren't able to train them properly quickly enough, right?
Yeah, for both of those. So train quickly enough and then yeah, wrong people. But in all honesty, I don't think it's necessarily like wrong people. I just was not able to give them the one-on-one training attention that they needed.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's just it. Like it's kind of like it's a tough situation to be in when, you're doing most of the work and then all of a sudden you have to bring somebody in. What are you going to do? Like how are you going to find the time to train them when you have your own work to do? That's the whole reason why you're bringing them in the first place, right?
So what I started doing is with the employees that I have, I started recording training videos. And then we
Hmm.
have so many process training videos now. and then if you get AI and stuff, then especially if you record like on Zoom, it comes out with like a
Hmm.
quick review of what happened, so then you have a Word for document for it as well. So that has helped a lot. Like I've obviously hired more people afterwards and I had them watch videos and if they, need to know how to do something, they're able to not just wait for me, creating that whole bottleneck effect as the owner. They're able to go and look at another video, how another client was handled or, a process was handled.
No, I love that. It's so cool the tools that we have nowadays. It's so different, right? Like you can create, it's almost like these playbooks write themselves now.
I
Like you
know,
say, you just record a normal work call, right?
right. It
Now,
becomes
out
a
of
training
curiosity,
video.
so out of curiosity, because this might be kind of common for a lot of industries, how do you, like you're dealing with people's financials, so how do you record a video with a client and then share it with your other employees? Isn't there some sort of like privacy issues going on there? Or
I mean, whenever we do training videos, it's never like we have their socials open or their bank statements open or things like that. It's those things, especially like working with software, those are things that are always X'd out and you only see the last few numbers, but only internal. So it doesn't go anywhere else. The training is just literally internal. And I
okay,
do have all my employees sign confidentiality
love it.
information and things like that. So it's not going anywhere. Not like I have employees overseas or, in accounting, it's very popular to outsource and have a bunch of people working from the Philippines or India. So we don't do that. So it's all in-house. And especially during the training period, they're all working out of my office. They're not even working from home yet.
Okay, love it. And
Yeah.
we've already mentioned a few like Zoom, right? And
Yeah.
AI and stuff, but like are there other tools that you use in your business that are really useful for you?
Yeah, of course. So being in accounting, you have to do bookkeeping, and the most popular one, easiest to use, and no one really stands close to it. Some try, but no one is really close, is the QuickBooks, of course. And specifically, I prefer QuickBooks Online, not the desktop. So that's a great tool. If you can't afford QuickBooks because it is expensive, Excel is always a great option. And I
Yeah.
actually prefer Google Sheets.
Nice. Yeah, I actually have been using Excel forever, and I just actually got QuickBooks this year. So, and the
Really?
QuickBooks Online, yeah. So finally, but it was funny because I mean, doing everything in Excel, it's just name changes now. I'm like, oh, that's what that's called, right? So that's
Yeah.
cool. So, so then what about, I mean, you've been working from home for a long time. Tell me about your home office, your jam room.
So throughout the years, I obviously had lots of home office and gym rooms. Right now, I'm in my front room, so the very first thing that anybody comes in sees it. But I picked this area because I have a beautiful view of the trees and stuff. And when you're working from home and you don't leave the house, I feel like that's important that you have a view. So
Mm,
that's the reason I picked my spot in my house for the home office. But if we're talking about taxes, your home office, and especially if you want it to be tax deductible, has to be a designated area. So it can't usually be like your dining room table that you sometimes eat dinner at, but mostly use it with your laptop. So it literally has to be a designated area.
yeah, right on. So does it have to have a door?
I No, it doesn't always have to have a door, no.
Okay. So it just has to be, you can't have it be your living room slash home office, right?
Right.
Cool.
You can't be using it.
Is there anything else in your home office that you use or that you have?
Obviously a comfortable chair because I do work a lot.
Yeah.
And then, the kitchen's closed for snacks. So that's the
Hmm.
best part working at home.
What about distractions? How do you stay focused?
So I use block scheduling and timers. It's easier to get distracted when you're at home, but my daughter goes to school, so there's nobody at home besides my cat. Sometimes my cat distracts me, but I try to stay focused with a block schedule. And especially like if you're like, oh, I gotta go do something, or I want to go check the mail or switch the laundry, whatever, I would use my block schedule. And then I do set, I forgot what it's called, but it's the 25 block and then 5-minute break, 25 block, 5-minute break. So I
What,
use that.
Palmanero or something? Yeah,
I
something
forget
like
what it's called, but it works
something like
great
that.
because then you're like, okay, I gotta get up for 5 minutes. I can go run do something really quick and then get back into it.
Yeah,
Okay,
what it is.
forgot the name for it.
Awesome. And so how long have you been using that process?
I've been using the whole block schedule for a really, really long time, but the whole just 25-minute increments with a 5-minute break, I would say probably like less than a year. I'm really focusing on it now during tax season.
Yeah.
'Cause as we're recording, it's tax season.
Yeah. And then your like legs hurt and stuff.
Yeah.
We have the same issues working from home. I think that's a really cool way to do it too. But the block scheduling, I've been using that for a long time too. Now, is this something that you like read somewhere else, or was it just like something that you kind of came up with yourself?
No, I did read about it, so I do enjoy reading a lot of business books, and more than one book actually mentioned it. I think the last one I read was like the 31 to-do list for the entrepreneur. I forgot the name exactly. I can look it
Hmm.
up. But it talked about that one as well. Like it talked about specifically about the block scheduling and things like that, and specifically about the 25-minute. So I actually use the 25-minute as my goal, as my task to get complete in the 25 minutes.
Oh,
So
that's a good idea.
so I don't know if you've ever heard the saying, if you give yourself a week to clean your house, it will take you a week, but if you give yourself an hour, it will take you an hour.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that the whole 25 minutes, that's my to complete a task. Since you're like telling your brain, hey, you have 25 minutes to get this done, surprisingly, your brain figures out and it's like, okay, let's get this done.
Yeah. Wow, that's really cool. And like it's the difference, I think, between the entrepreneur mindset versus the employee mindset, because the
Right.
employee mindset is let's just stretch this out to make sure it lasts as long as possible. But the entrepreneur mindset is the faster you can get it done and still maintain the same quality, the more money you make, right? Because now you can fit more
Right.
things in a day.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless you structure your employee payroll with bonuses and things like that,
Highly
then they'll want
suggested.
to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yes.
So tell me more about that.
Each employee has a limited amount of clients that they can work with because I want to make sure that they have the attention, but also I know how much one person can handle. And if they're not at their limit, they're not going to make as much money as they want to make. They see their goal and what they need to achieve, but that's also because I know how fast you could work without sacrificing the quality. Not all employees are there, of course. It takes time to build up the efficiency and
Mhm.
working fast and things. But yeah, I've noticed that if you give employees goals and tie it in with their payroll, the customers that offer bonuses or like a structure or a percentage or anything else like that, their employees achieve more. Their employees do more. There's a lot
That's
less
funny.
turnover.
Yeah.
I know, right?
And so with you said that you've got like sort of a mix of people that work in an office and people that work at home, right?
Yeah.
Are you worried about them working at home and losing productivity?
No, because like I said, they all have goals. They all have a limit of customers that they deal with. And I don't want to focus. I always tell them if I have to micromanage you or I don't trust you, then you shouldn't be working here. So they have a workload that I know that needs to be completed. And the other thing that I eliminated is the whole pretty much schedule that they have to be available when customers are available, but they can either start early or work late or, even sometimes catch up on a Saturday if they want to take off during the week, So that helps out too, that they're more in control of their schedule. And as far as like productivity, I do obviously have security protocols. I see on their computer where they're going and things like that.
Mhm.
I try not to check because I want to trust them and things like that. But if I needed to, I could. But I haven't
Okay,
had an issue with them not getting stuff done. We constantly have deadlines. We constantly have things that need to get done. And I haven't had an issue with any of my employees that didn't meet their deadlines.
that's awesome. Well, it sounds to me like you've got the right kind of like infrastructure in place to help them, be happy and flexible and just get the work done. Like, I think that's what a lot of employers do wrong is that they focus more on, you know, maybe the time that they're at the office rather than the amount of work that they get done. And like you say, that discourages them from working fast. If all I care about is whether you get your work done and it's at the quality that we're looking at, then that encourages them to just get better at their job, right?
That's true.
That's
I
awesome.
tell them all, I'm like, I want us all to work just 30 hours a week
Yeah.
in all
Yeah.
reality.
That's brilliant.
So,
Cool.
yeah.
So let's talk a little about keeping the hat flow, the cash flow. And I mean, probably an accountant is a good person to talk about this, right? But have you got any, like, well, let's talk about you. Like, how do you make sure there's more money coming in than going out?
Obviously, I do budgets and forecasting. I
Hmm.
review my finances on a regular basis, which with a lot of people, and especially like working with a lot of small business owners, for some reason, it's like they're always like almost scared to look at their finances, especially when they're starting out, because they're like, I know I'm spending more than I'm bringing in. I'm just investing now and things like that. But I really encourage to start building good financial habits like forecasting. How much do I think I'm going to bring in? How much do I need to bring in to, make it to make sure that my money out is covered.
Hmm.
So if you use like set up habits, like weekly habits to review all those, you'd be good because then if you see that you're not going to make it next week, guess what? You're going to hustle to make it to make sure. But if you don't have those habits and you don't sit down and you don't review, then you won't know. And then all of a sudden your bank account is in the negative and you're like, what? I thought I had money. This
Hmm.
happened to customers. I'm literally talking about real stories that happened to my customers.
Yeah. I mean, I hear it all the time too. Like, I like accounting. I should be an accountant, but I just check my finances sometimes more than one time a day. And I'm just constantly looking at it, and I don't find it scary at all. But I hear a lot of people that they just don't even look at it at all.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, how do you know where you are if you don't look at it regularly?
Yeah. They're just guessing.
Would it be okay for them to hire somebody to look at that for them and just give them a heads up when something's happening? Or what are some other options, or are there any?
Yes, so I would actually say it depends. Like if they're making enough money and they need somebody to be looking at that, then 100%. But a lot of times when you're like starting out or it's like your part-time job or like it's, side gig or whatever, you don't have the finances to hire someone. And in that
Hmm.
situation, I always say know yourself. Like learn yourself first. Like are you a morning person? Are you an evening person? Like what triggers you? What makes you anxious that you don't want to look at it? And then start small. But I could honestly say, and I've been doing this for like 20 years, there is nobody that you're going to hire that's going to care more than the business owner themselves. And even if you hire someone, you still need to be aware of it. You still need to know it. And then I would say if you have such anxiety, hire someone to train you to understand it. The reason you have
Ah,
anxiety is because you don't understand.
yes, I agree. And you do hear stories of people that actually get taken advantage of by their financial people. Because if you have no
Yeah.
idea, they could be skimming some stuff out of there, right?
Yeah, I literally just had this happen to one of my customers. He hired an account controller, no, an accounting person, a controller,
Hmm.
and that controller tried to get all his invoices money in, sent to his other bank. Like he was like changing the bank. Yeah, it's such a huge mess that I had to help and deal with. So yes, the business owner, even if you hire someone, you still need to be in control. Like you still need to know what's going on.
Yeah. I think probably in most businesses, if it's a solid idea, right? If it's a good business idea, then you're going to be making money. Like it is going to
Yeah,
be profitable. So it's not that scary. It's more or less maybe just some anxiety about, being confused about how things are, or confused about taxes or whatever it is. And all that stuff you can learn. Or you
right.
can at least have somebody that can be on speed dial, that you pay them whatever just per call to help you with that stuff. But I think
Yeah.
probably a lot of the anxiety might be that people are actually worried that maybe their idea is not a good idea. And maybe
Yeah.
their business is not, because people really do become very personal about their business. It's their baby, right? And
Right.
so if they're worried that maybe maybe it's just not the right business idea. There's just not enough money to be made. Maybe that might be why they don't want to even look at it.
Oh, I was gonna say, but then again, you see all these items that sell, and you're like, "This is stupid. How did this sell?" So I heard from a business coach that if your business is not making money, then you have a marketing problem.
Absolutely. I agree. Which is, it, I think faster you figure that out, right? The better, right? Because I
Yeah,
mean, I think a lot of times it's probably even more or less that they're not charging enough for what they do.
that's true too. But if you don't do your accounting and bookkeeping, you don't know if you're charging enough.
Yep, absolutely. I
I was
think that, go ahead.
the whole product, like the whole Stanley Cups, they were going to discontinue them because they weren't selling. And then the woman said, "Why don't we paint them pastel colors?" And then they went crazy. Like they can't keep them off the shelf. See? So a lot of times it's a marketing issue.
Yep, it's a marketing issue. It just needs to be reinvented, something like that. But yeah, like you say, if you don't look at those numbers, then eventually you get into so much trouble that you just can't revive it anymore, right?
Right.
And now there are plenty of places you can go to get that confidence building information, right?
Yeah, that's true. I would say, like, if you're ever hiring someone, the issue with accountants is like we're all pretty much introverts. A few of
Mm.
us are extroverts. We all focus more on compliance than talking to people and stuff. But in reality, like with mine, and I learned this from a very, very early on, like when I did a tax return and I used my accounting jargon to explain, to tell her stuff, this one business owner looks at me and she's like, "I didn't
Yeah.
understand a word you said.
Yeah.
Tell me, tell me in words I understand?" And so I was like, "Oh, okay, so I know these words, but they don't know these words." And so like literally when an employee comes on board, like we train them to, of course, we have to know the accounting, language, but we literally train them to talk in everyday language. And specifically, like my bookkeepers and accountants, they have like specific industries and then learn that industry lingo, to communicate to them so the customers actually understand. So if you're hiring an accountant and things like that, and then don't be afraid to speak up, explain it to me, because there is a lot of words that, you know, we use that most people don't know because they didn't study them.
Yeah. You know what? That's applicable advice to just about any business too, because I think that whatever your, thing is, you're going to know it better and you're going to know all those proper terms better than the average customer of yours is going to know them. And so if you're
Yeah,
speaking to them in your language, the customer doesn't care about any of that stuff. All they want to know is how you're going to solve their problem. So yeah, I mean, that's a really applicable advice to anybody, I think.
yeah, that's true.
That's awesome. So tell me what's exciting in your business right now.
Well, right now, people thinking the IRS is going to get eliminated.
Yeah.
So that's exciting, I guess you could say. But in reality, I doubt that the IRS will be eliminated. I think only
Yep.
businesses should have taxes,
Ag- Agree.
if I'm being honest. But I doubt that the whole IRS will be eliminated. So we have lots of customers. There's so much misinformation that are like, "I want to put an extension because the IRS is going to be abolished by October." I'm like, doubtful, but okay, if you want that extension, let's get you an extension. So that's really exciting. The conversations that I heard on TikTok, I heard on Instagram, IRS is getting abolished.
Oh, imagine. Yeah. But that's the thing. So what you're doing, you're basically just giving people extensions. Do they have to pay for that?
For the extension?
Yeah.
Yeah, we charge a fee to file their extension, but more of a deposit against the tax preparation. Yeah, they'll get it
Oh,
back
yeah.
when. Yeah,
I'm in Canada, so things are different up here.
but
But
you
yeah, I
still have
mean,
taxes and stuff.
we do still have taxes. Yeah. But I mean, I think that's the same everywhere. I mean, everything's up in the air. It's just so crazy. And there is a lot of misinformation that could get you into some trouble. I think
Yeah,
that it's, just like with anything, it's probably best to not make any crazy radical decisions when everything's up in the air. If
for
those
sure.
things come into play, great. But if they don't, then you might end up, with a bunch of stuff you don't need anymore.
Mhm. Sure.
So now, is there anything that you offer? Like, how do people get to know whether you're someone they want to work with or not?
Because I'm the business owner and because it's my agency, I do meet every single new potential customer first. And I figure out if we're a good match. And based on the industry, I decide who would be best for them to work with inside my agency, like the bookkeepers and the accountants. Because obviously, as the business owner, you can't work with everyone, you
Oh,
know?
yeah.
But yeah, people can reach us through our website. Tried starting a YouTube channel years ago, but it's so time consuming. I can't. I give
Yeah,
my hat off to people. Like you, I tried a podcast too. It's so time consuming. I don't know how
it
you guys
is.
do it.
It is.
That is
Yeah.
true. People can just reach out to us on our website. We have a whole process. A new client relationship manager talks to them first and then tells them a little bit about us. If they're still interested, the next step would be to meet with me and then decide if we're a good match. I would never want somebody to sign up just because I needed a client, if that's not like the industry I specialize or if that's something that I know that I won't be able to provide excellent customer service and things like that. So yeah, but just from our website, goldenappleagencyinc.com.
Awesome. So if someone's looking for an accountant, then it makes sense to look for someone who specializes in their industry. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it would make sense.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense because I know that when I was setting up my own QuickBooks, there was a lot of things that were sort of like not standard. It was just when I was looking at all the predefined categories, I'm like, well, I don't fit in any of these categories. I had to go and do some research to figure all that stuff out. So that does make sense that if you have a specific industry, they would know how to handle certain parts of your industry,
Right.
right?
Yeah. And then each industry is a little bit different, and have their own rules and things like that. But also, an accountant learns your lingo, like the words you use, the words in your business that maybe other people don't know. So it becomes much easier to communicate as well.
Yeah, cool. And it's not that an accountant might not be able to figure all that stuff out, but it just would save so much time if they already knew.
Right.
And it's better for both people. It's better for you because you know what you're doing. It speeds up the time that it takes for you to get back to a client. And it also saves time for me because now you can communicate with me easier. I can just send off a quick email and you don't have to keep coming back and me asking more questions, right?
Right.
That's awesome.
Golden Apple Agency.
Awesome. Thank you so much for rocking out with me today, Tanya. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. And to the listeners, make sure you subscribe, rate, comment. We'll see you next time on the Work at Home Rockstar podcast. And you can go to workathomerockstar.com for more information.